everybody who's here. It's going to be a little bit of strength, a little bit of gentle. It's going to be a little warm, a little cool, kind of like sunshine and rain, the theme. So you don't actually specifically need any props today, but of course, if you've been here previously and you know that you like to have your hands on something for some lunging poses, you could have cans to have your hands on or a large book. And yeah, we're just making sure everybody's being let in. We just had kind of a rush of people coming in right around the 10 o'clock mark, so I know I'm starting a little bit late. But another quick thing, I put my email address in the chat if anyone has any questions at all or feedback and you want to reach me directly. Okay, so let's lie down on our backs. We are going to hug our knees into our chest and start to wake up the body for our Saturday morning flow, our Saturday morning movement. So take this position any way you want. You could have your ankles crossed the way I have right now. You could have your feet released. Maybe want to pull your legs wider apart. You can be rocking from side to side. You can be staying still. Just explore what feels good. We're going to do this for one more breath. And then I want you to bring your feet down to the ground. Knees are bent. The feet are on the outside edges of the mat. And we're just going to start to drop the knees from side to side in a windshield wiper knees movement. But it's just a nice way to start to open up the top of the body. Get into the tops of the legs. You might notice that you have a lot of tightness in your hip flexors or in your thighs, your quads. That's okay. That's why you're here. You're going to stretch. You're always going to listen to your body this entire class. If at any time something that I suggest doesn't feel good, you're going to stop. You know your body more than anybody. So just always listen to your intuition. Let's do one more time either side. If you want to start to stretch your arms away, additionally, you can. Maybe feel that stretch pulling up a little bit more into the torso. And then we're going to start to stretch the legs up. You can support the backs of your legs if you want. You can have your hands flat on the ground, but I want you just to start to give some movement into your ankles. Squeeze and release your toes. Point and flex your feet. You're taking nice big deep breaths. You're probably, hopefully, going to be able to get outside today and maybe walk around or work in the garden, go biking. So we'll make sure our legs feel nice and loosened up. Let's do one more breath. And then we're going to hug the knees in again. Again, maybe just rock from side to side. And if maybe last time you didn't pull your legs wide apart, go for it this time. More of a flattening of the low back. And then we'll try something here just to open up the hips. We're going to bring one hand onto each knee, and I want you to just bring your knees closed. Push your knees away from you, and then open them up again and draw them back in toward you. So we'll repeat that again. You're going to push the knees away, open them up, and draw them back in. So what we're doing is these big circles in the air, kind of like an egg beater motion. If this doesn't feel good, then you're not going to do it, of course. If you find that you're not doing it in the way that I've suggested, that's okay. Any sort of movement, maybe you have both knees together and you're going to roll them, that's okay. So we'll do this one more time. And then we're going to reverse the direction. So we're just loosening up the hips. You might hear crunching and pulling and resistance. That's all good. It doesn't mean that you have a problem. It just means that you're waking up your body. We are going to be putting lots of space in our body. Okay, let's take another big breath as you're doing any form of movements and circles here. And bring your legs down to the ground. Stretch them out. Let's bring the arms over the head. And we're going to take a big, big stretch. Maybe even wiggle your fingers a little bit. You can sparkle your toes. Let your ribs expand and contract. It feels really nice to stretch like this. It's not something we often do during the day. Let's grab onto our left wrist and pull over to the right side. And I want you to get a nice big breath into your side body. And then we'll come back to center. We're going to grab onto the right wrist and pull to the opposite side. So try not to clench or hold your breath as you're doing these movements. You want to try to keep soft through the face and the neck. We're going to keep the arms over the head for one more moment. This time, interlace your fingers, stretch your hands away from you one more time. And I want you to take a really big breath into your belly. Big breath in and exhale out. And then release the arms. Let's stretch the arms away from the body. So just stretching away as if you're reaching to the person next to you. Have your palms face down. I want you to soften your shoulders and just feel like you're rolling them back. If you're just trying to plant, you're trying to snuggle your shoulder blades into the ground a little bit more. So just take a couple breaths here. Notice how this feels across the chest. Notice if you feel that this has discomfort or maybe it feels good. Just notice the sensations. And then I want you to turn your head slowly from side to side. We're going to give our neck a little bit of a stretch. So beginning of the weekend, we're not hopefully going to be on our computers as much as we would be during the week, the work week. So we want to just try to release any tightness in the neck and the shoulders. So we'll come back to center and now turn your palms to face up. And we're going to do that same big stretch back, like that planting of the shoulder blades back. And then we'll just continue dropping the chin from side to side, stretching the neck. You might find that what I'm doing is too many times for you, and that's okay. Just pause, just stare at the ceiling. You might find that you want to do more. Try and soften your spine, try and relax your back. All right, we'll come back to center. And last but not least, we are going to wrap our arms around us and give ourselves a nice big hug. This is a big hug saying thank you for dragging me out of bed. This is you saying this to yourself and getting you on your mat on this Saturday morning. So a nice big hug. You can tell yourself you love you if you want, that's good. But we're going to release the arms and we'll switch opposite arm on top. Another love. Always good to have some good love. And release. Let your arms come down, hug your knees into your chest, and then however you would like, you can take a couple rolls on your spine, up and down on your spine if you want. But eventually bringing yourself up, we're going to come all the way up onto our hands and knees, coming up into a tabletop position. And I want you to start moving through some cat and some cow. So just opening up your spine, opening up your neck, hammocking your belly when you take your cat, tucking your chin into your chest and drawing your abdominal muscles in when you take the cow. And I want you to be breathing as you do this movement. I am going to take 1 second here and put an elastic in my hair. I forgot to do that before we started, but you're continuing to do your cat and cow. Breathing in and breathing out. And then if you started to do this now a few times and you're feeling like you're kind of opening up the body a little bit, I want you to push your hips from side to side as well. Maybe doing a little delicious twist into the hips. And again, you're breathing in, breathing out. You're not clenching your teeth. You're just feeling this nice fluidity. Your spine is getting loose. Your hips are loosening up. We are preparing for more movement in our practice. Let's come back to center, and we're going to remind ourselves, of course, of a great pose that you can always take at any time, child's pose. So your knees are wide apart, your big toes are touching, and lower yourself down. This is a great stretch for the hips, for low back pain. It's nice to stretch out for the knees and the thighs as well. But I often will say that this is a rest pose. I know for everybody it's not, it doesn't feel like a rest. So for some of us it feels really, really tight. But just remember that this is an option for you, as is just lying on your back or lying on your belly. Okay. So you can stay here as long as you want or make your way up into downward facing dog. Your feet are hip distance apart, your hands are shoulder distance, your fingers are spread nice and wide, and we are going to start to just pedal out our legs. Maybe coming up on your tiptoes, pushing your tailbone up towards the ceiling, and then sinking down through your heels any amount. We'll do this again. Lifting up nice and high and sinking down any amount. So stay here a little longer. Of course, come down to your hands and knees at any time. Come down into child's pose at any time. Nice big breaths. I want you to really be aware of filling up your lungs with air. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the nose. And for those that want a little more spice, we're going to come forward to a high plank. Pausing here. You can always have your knees down. Hands are underneath the shoulders, fingers still spread wide. Try not to lock your arms. I see that a lot, that people lock their elbows and they're hyperextending it. What you're doing here is you're just using your joints. We want to use our muscles. We want to have slightly soft, like a micro bend in our elbow. So it doesn't look like that. It's just a little micro bend. Holding here a little bit longer, warming things up. Your abdominal muscles are pulled in, pressing back through your heels. And let's start to lower ourselves down. You can have your knees down, of course, for this. And 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bringing everything down to the ground, tops of the feet to the mat. Bring your hands just to the outside edges of the mat, and your on-tented fingers, pull your arms up. Get a nice big opening in your shoulder girdle, and we're going to inhale into a modified cobra. Exhale, lower back down. Let's do that again. Inhale, exhale. One more time. Inhale, exhale. Bring your hands beside your low ribs, curl your toes under, press back into wide knees child's pose. You can stay here or come up into downward facing dog. Let's take 3 breaths. So we're trying to pull the shoulders away from the ears. We're trying to think about lengthening our spine if you're in downward dog. One more breath. And from here, we're going to step our right foot forward, coming down onto the left knee. Pausing here for a minute, making sure your knee's over your ankle. Left leg can be stretched back as much as you need to get that stretch in the hip flexor. And then if it's available to you, hands to the knee. And then maybe bring the arms up. Maybe look up. You can keep gazing towards the ceiling, take your hands behind your back, interlace your fingers, stretch. Make sure that front leg still points forward. Sometimes it has it wants to wobble. We're going to gaze forward now, bring your hands to your heart, and we're going to take a nice twist through the core to the right. Now, you can twist and stay like this, or if you have a little more flexibility, you can try and touch your elbow or even hook it on the outside of the leg. Whatever variation you're doing here, I want you to really squeeze your belly muscles in, and we're going to hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Come back to center, bring your hands down, stretch out your legs, and we'll take a few point and flexes. Okay, step your right leg back. Option here to stay on hands and knees, pushing the hips from side to side, or come up into downward facing dog. Pedaling out your legs. Let's step our left foot forward, coming onto the right knee. Again, making sure you have that safe knee, front knee, and hands to the leg. Maybe it's available, bring the arms straight up, palms facing in. Maybe looking up, which challenges the balance a little bit more. Maybe take your hands behind your back, stretch through the heart. And then we'll gaze forward, bring your hands to the heart, and we're going to twist to the left. So first through the torso, if that's available, and then maybe tucking. Pull your belly muscles in, draw them in, and we're going to hold here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Come back, hands down, stretch out your leg, and we'll take a few pulses. Nice big breath. Okay, slide that left leg back. Again, maybe staying in tabletop, that's a good place, or child's pose, or downward facing dog. Now, downward facing dog people, we're gonna come forward to a high plank. Again, we're gonna start to just hang out here a little bit, continuing that warming trend that we started before, but pulling your shoulders away from the ears, nice straight spine, that micro bend, that tiniest of tiny little bends in your elbow. Press back through your heels, engage the thighs, let's hold here. And then if you'd like, knees can come down. We're gonna lower down for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Come down to the belly. Once again, hands on the outside edges of the mat, tops of the feet to the mat. Inhale and exhale. Do that again. Inhale and exhale. One more time. Inhale. Now, if you can hold this here, I want you to look to a shoulder, come back and lower down. Hands beside your low ribs, curl your toes under, press back, wide knees, child's pose. Take a big stretch, maybe do a little bit of a shimmy with your body, see how that feels. We're gonna move around a little bit more. But first, actually, I digress before. First, we're going to come forward onto our forearms. I don't want to forget this. Okay, so we are on our forearms. We are in a tabletop position on our forearms. And I know it's not kind of that super flat back, right? It's a little bit of a slant. We can't help it, we need a level. All right, so you're looking back, you're gonna keep your neck relaxed. I want you to float your right leg up to hip height, your toes are pointed down, and you're gonna just maybe check to see, to the best of your ability, that you don't have your leg up in the air really high. You're trying to keep it nice and level. Draw your abdominal muscles in and really have weight on the forearms as well. It's not all in this left side. So we're holding here. Now I want you to take this right leg and you're gonna bring it over to the right. It's in the air, holding, hold, hold, hold. And then we're gonna let the toe touch the ground. And then lift back up and come back to center. We're gonna do that again. So over to the right, far over as you can, lower down and touch, lift back up, come back to center. One more time, over to the right, lower down, lift back up, come back to center. You feel like a little more pizzazz? Left arm can reach forward, still on your right forearm, and we're gonna hold here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring your forearm and your leg back down. Take a stretch back. Nice big breath. We are going to do the same thing on the other side. So coming back onto your forearms in a tabletop position, elbows underneath the shoulders, left leg stretches out. Strong abdominal muscles. Holding here, your hip is level as you can get it. So again, the leg doesn't look like this. You're not clenching your teeth to the best of your ability. And take your leg over to the left. Let it hover, keep the foot flexed, and touch. Back up, and back to center. We'll do that again. To the left, and touch, back up, back to center. So it's a lot of work for the core. Over, and hover, and touch, and back up, and back to center. Staying like this, and maybe adding a little bit more. Right arm reaching forward alongside the ear, holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hand and knee back down. Take a stretch back, child's pose. Maybe push your hips from side to side. Maybe give your hands a little, your wrists a little roll here, making fists and rolling them out. And when you're ready, we are going to come up into downward facing dog. Okay, so we're going to just pedal out the legs for a couple more seconds, and then we're going to move through a few sun salutations just to warm the body up, and then we're going to do a little bit more flowing. So we will look forward to the top of the mat. You can step, walk, or lunge, bringing both feet up to the top, lengthening into a flat back, Hands on the shins or fingertips on the ground, folding forward. Let's actually take a little extra second here to really like shake it out. Keep your belly muscles pulled in, but nice juicy arms, releasing from the work that we just did on the forearms. And then still strong belly. We're gonna roll ourselves up, bone by bone, coming all the way up. Okay, we've been kind of sort of hanging our head for a little bit of time, so it might feel good now to be up. You might have a little bit of dizziness. That's okay, just let it subside. Maybe even take your hands behind your back, do another big stretch. All right, release your hands, feet are together, you're standing nice and tall, arms out, inhale, and we'll fold forward, bowing forward. Lengthening into a flat back, bringing your hands down to the ground, stepping back into downward facing dog. If you'd like, come forward to a high plank. We're going to take a regular paced chaturanga this time, lowering down, coming up into cobra or upward dog, and back into downward facing dog. Okay, we are going to take our right leg, reach it up in the air, bend the knee open. Maybe sink down a little bit more through your left heel, see how that feels. Now take your foot and step it up between your hands. You're going to stay on the ball of your left foot. So you can always modify and bring the knee down. When you feel ready, coming up into a lunge. Maybe bringing the arms up. Maybe looking up. Maybe still looking up, taking your hands behind your back. Keep that front leg nice and strong. Looking forward, bring your hands to your heart, twisting to the right. So just like we did before with the knee down. Some of you might want to open up the arms. Some of you might want to take a bind. Go for it. I'm keeping my hands together. Come back down, hands down, and we're going to stretch out that front leg. Just stretch it out. And in fact, you can even come up and lift your toes up, pointing to the ceiling, and then coming back down. So we're just doing a little release here. Okay, now we're going to add a little bit more. We're going to come back into the lunge, same leg. I'm a little wobbly, same leg. Okay, now this time, we're going to do a little bit of work with the arms. I want you to bring your arms into cactus. So cactus arms, you're facing forward, I'm just showing. Okay, now I want you to extend your arms away from you, and you're going to point your fingers to the ceiling. So it's going to look like this. Okay, so we're still in this lunge, got lots of energy happening in this front leg. Push the energy back into your back leg as well. Keep your core nice and strong. Okay, now go into the cactus arms again, and then push the arms out. So you have a little bit of a wrist stretch happening here, right? You can probably feel it in this area. We're trying to strengthen our wrist. One more time, cactus. And now we're going to straighten out that front leg. Just don't lock the knee. Okay, so now we're going to add in some movement. Back out into the arms as you lunge. Come up into cactus as you straighten out the leg. Press out and up. Press out and up. Press out and up. Last but not least, out, and then come back up, and then let's sink back down for one more moment. Holding here. If you still want a little bit of extra work, we're going to take the back knee, and we're going to let that hover for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring your hands down, step back, either into downward dog, child's pose, tabletop, or come forward to a high plank, lower down, inhale cobra, upward dog, downward facing dog. Take a nice big breath. When you are ready, we're going to look forward to the top of the mat. Step, walk, or hop all the way up. Inhale and lengthen, exhale, fold. Arms out to the sides, all the way up and down through the heart. Take a nice big breath. Hands at the sides. Inhale. Exhale, bow forward. Lengthen into a flat back. Bringing your hands down, step back into downward facing dog. Take a moment to get back into down dog, take a breath. Bring your left leg up in the air, bend the knee open. Maybe sink down a little bit more through that right heel. Take a big breath. We are gonna step our left foot forward. So again, positioning for our lunge, bringing yourself up. Take all the time in the world to do this. It's okay if you're wobbly. You know from experience, we're gonna be here for a little bit of time. So we're nice and strong. Our shoulders are back. Draw the abdominal muscles in. Bring the arms up. Maybe it's available to look up. Maybe take your hands behind your back and stretch a little bit more. Be very aware of your front leg. And we'll look forward. We'll bring our hands to the heart. We're going to twist to the left. Maybe do the tuck. Maybe do the arms opening up. Lots of options here. Maybe taking a bind. Many, many options. Holding for one more breath. We'll come back to center. Bring your hands down. We're going to stretch out the front leg and maybe do a little bit of opening up the calf, a little bit of the shin as well. Kind of like a gas pedal motion. Okay. Coming back and moving back into our next round here of our nice leg strengthening lunges along with our, I can't always look to the side because when I fall, also with opening up our arms and our wrists. Okay, so back into cactus, just like before. Nice big breath, and then we're gonna practice the arms stretched away, except this time your fingers are gonna point down. So you're getting that little different strengthening and stretching on the arms and the wrists. And you know, every time we hold our arms out like this, you're strengthening and you're toning your arms. Okay, back to cactus. Extend back out again. One more time, back to cactus. Extend back out. Okay, a little bit of relief on the front leg. We're gonna straighten out the leg, don't lock the front knee. There's lots of balance happening here, right? The big balance pose, in addition to opening up the hips and strengthening the legs. Okay, so now we are going to sink back down, arms out. Cactus as we come up. Arms as we sink down. Cactus. Arms. Cactus. One more time. Arms. Cactus. And then just like we did before, one more round with cactus. We're going to take our right knee if you want. Bend it. Still try not to round forward. You're going to stay nice and straight for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bringing your hands down. Step back. Downward dog, tabletop, child's pose, or high plank. Lowering down, coming into cobra or upward dog. Downward facing dog. Okay, let's take 5 breaths wherever you want to be, wherever makes the most sense for you. 5 breaths. Respect your body, respect your breath. If you're panting a little bit, take it easy. If you need to grab a little sip of water, like me. Okay, one more breath. And from here, we are going to look forward to the top of the mat. Step, walk, or hop. Inhale and lengthen. Exhale, fold. Arms out to the sides and hands come down to the heart. Okay, we are going to go through all of that much faster, not holding it anywhere nearly as long as we did before. We're just going to practice all of the stuff that we now have muscle memory with. Okay, standing nice and tall in mountain pose. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. Lengthen into a flat back. Bring your hands to the ground. Step back either into downward facing dog or high plank. Lowering down. Coming into cobra or upward dog, downward facing dog. Right leg goes up in the air, bend the knee open. Step your foot up between your hands. Come up into your high lunge. Maybe look up. Release and grab the hands behind your back. Looking forward, twisting to the right. Take any variation with the arms. Come back down with your hands. Stretch out that front leg. Take a couple little pedals. Allow yourself to get steady again to bring yourself back up into the lunge. Slide your beautiful arms into cactus. Extend the arms out, palms open, fingers facing up, and then cactus as we straighten out the front leg. And then arms and cactus and arms. One more time, cactus and arms. Switch back to cactus. Bend your knee and hold. This is where we'll do it for the 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Keep your abdominals pulled in. 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring your hands down. Step back, high plank. Lower down, coming into cobra, upward dog, downward facing dog. Take a nice big breath. Look forward to the top of the mat. Step, walk, or hop. Inhale and lengthen. Fold forward. Arms out. Bring your hands down to your heart. Round 2, second side. Inhale. Folding forward. Lengthen into a flat back. Bring your hands down, step back, either into downward dog or high plank. Lowering down. Cobra or upward dog. Downward facing dog. Take a nice big breath of oxygen, breathing in through your nose, out through your nose, and your left leg comes up in the air. Bend the knee open. Step your foot forward. Take all the time in the world to safely come up into a lunge. Maybe looking up. Maybe take the hands behind the back. And we'll look forward. Hands to the heart, twist to the left. Take your variation, keep your back leg nice and strong. Come back down. Straighten out your front leg. Do feel little movements here, and then we'll reconvene back in our lunge. Arms into cactus. Stretch the arms away from you this time. Wrists bent, fingers pointing down. We'll come back up into cactus, straightening out the front leg. Sink back down. Lift up and sink back down. Lift up, sink back down. One more time, lift up and sink back down. Oops. And we're gonna bend the back knee and hold here, super strong and powerful for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring your hands down, step back into a high plank, lower down, come into cobra or upward dog, and downward facing dog. Okay, we are going to take a few breaths here. We have one more thing of challenge to do, actually maybe two. So this is where you are getting the sweaty parts. I don't know if this is considered to be your sunshine or your rain. Pick which is your sunshine, the easier or the harder. Okay. We're going to come forward onto our forearms. Now, we're going to have lots of options with this one. So, as you can see, I'm kind of stretching my knees back a little bit, so I'm in more of a almost a forearm plank. My elbows are still under my shoulders, but I'm getting the abdominal work here by stretching out my legs. Now let's just practice what it feels like to lift a leg up and lift the other leg up. So we're gonna alternate, switch, 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 switch. Now, some of you might find this is far too challenging, in which case, just rest. Others might think this is ridiculously easy. Come up into the full forearm plank and you're gonna do switch, 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 switch. Okay, so switch, We're going to do 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, everybody can come down into this variation. Just take a few breaths. You can rest, bring an ear to the ground, opposite ear to the ground. Okay, so now we're going to add on a little bit. So I'm back on my knees again. I want you to take your right forearm and you're going to make it parallel to the top edge of the mat. I want you to roll onto your right side, and you see my bottom leg is bent. So I'm using my bottom leg as support. My top leg is stretched out, bottom leg is bent. My shoulder is over my wrist. Okay, so you can stay like this. You want a little more work, you can stack your legs. If you still want more work, float your leg. I know there's some of you out there that want to do this. Okay, we're going to hold here wherever you've chosen for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come back to center. You can either rest here, or if you're very, very, very spicy, you can stay in a forearm plank, and we'll take 3 big breaths. Okay. So now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to just actually switch. All right, so we are going to have our knees down. Your left forearm is going to be parallel with the top edge of the mat. Roll to your left side. My knee is bent. My top leg is straight. Very amazing option. Shoulder is over the elbow, very important. Nice work on the core. Okay, maybe you want a little bit more. Maybe you still want a little bit more. Whatever variation you are doing, we are going to count it down for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come back. And remember, if you want to rest this forearm plank, go for it. If you want to rest like a normal person, go for it. But my forearm plank people that are resting, and you're still in the forearm plank, we're going to just add in a little bit more spice because I know you miss it if you have attended a class with me before in person. Let's go forward and back, forward and back for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Completely relax. Release your arms. Bring an ear to the ground. Take a nice big breath. Of course, you can turn to the opposite ear. Okay, we're going to stay here on our belly and just keep resting. I want to just flip back around to my original position. Okay, hope I can see. There we go. Okay. Let's stack our hands and bring your forehead to your hands. I want you to zip your legs up nice and close, and you're going to draw your abdominal muscles in. We're going to just do a little bit extra work here on our back. Let's float up through the chest, keeping your neck nice and long. Draw your abdominal muscles in. We're going to hold here. Take a nice big full breath in and out. One more time in and out. And then just release back down. You can take a breath, maybe give your hips a little shake. So this time we're going to lift up just the legs. We're not going to lift up the chest. So zipping up the legs to the best of your ability. Again, draw your abdominal muscles in. This time engage your glute muscles as well, your buttock muscles, and we'll float the legs up. I want you to work to really soften your jaw and keep breathing as your legs are floating. Now, if you have tension in your toes, try and soften them. I always say sparkle out your toes. Just kind of soften them out, holding here. One more breath and release the legs. Give your hips a little shake. Okay, so for those that want to, we're going to add in both variations and, or both upper and lower body, and maybe even a little something deeper with the arms if it works for your back. Okay, core is strong. Engage the glutes. We are going to float up through the chest, float up through the legs, Keep your neck nice and long. If it's available to you, maybe reach the arms forward, holding here. And then if you still want a little bit more, we're gonna flutter kick our legs for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Bring an ear to the ground, shake out your hips. We're done, we're not doing that again. And then to the other side. And bring your hands beside your low ribs, curl your toes under, bring yourself back into child's pose and stretch it out. Now in child's pose, you can stay like this, just with the arms forward and just stretch out your low back. Maybe you're even kind of shifting a little bit from side to side. That's always good. You want to add in a little bit of a stretch for the arms. We're going to take our right arm and spread it underneath the left. And if you want, take your left arm and drape it behind your back. So only bring that arm behind your back if your head is very comfortable on the ground, if you don't feel tension in your neck. All right, we're going to release and switch sides if you're doing this. And release, coming back out, maybe spending a couple more seconds in child's pose. Or maybe you feel a little more like you want to stretch your legs in downward dog. And if that's the case, go for it. Paddle them out. And for sure, some of the downward dog people, you may want to take a vinyasa, so come forward to a high plank, lowering down, cobra or upward dog, and downward facing dog. If you feel like you want to do that again, make it happen, go for it. All right, let's take 3 more breaths wherever you are at. And then we are going to make our way to a seated position. And in this seated position today, we are actually going to stretch our legs out in a V. We're going to just test out how this feels in a few different ways. So the first thing I want us to try is just bring your arms back and just stretch and just soften your feet. Like, don't have your feet flexed. Flexed is having the toes pointing to the ceiling. So just kind of shake them out. You can see how this feels. And then I want us to start to sit up a little bit higher. So now we're using more of our core. We're using more of the tops of our legs. Sometimes you can feel a pinchy feeling in your hip flexors. It's tricky to do this for a lot of us. So we're going to just attempt this. Sit up nice and tall. I want you to really make sure you're not doing this. You're sitting up tall. You're using your beautiful core that you just practiced. Okay. So let's come back again and release. And now I'm going to make it a little bit harder. Flex your feet. And we'll start first by having our hands behind our back. Like, I want you to really feel the engagement in your legs. So you feel your calf muscles, you feel your thigh muscles engaged. You're working hard to keep the feet flat. Walk yourself up. So this may feel a little bit harder. It does for me. Holding here. Nice, strong core, holding here. When we sit all day long in chairs, or we're used to sitting in cars or couches, we have very short hip flexors. And when we do things like this, this is tricky. But when we practice sitting on the ground and having our legs outstretched, this is working those muscles. Okay, last but not least, start to stretch yourself forward. Now, I want you to experiment. Notice how it feels different if your feet are pointed up versus soft. You might feel nicer being soft. I want you to pick whatever you want to do, wherever you want to work at. You also may have your knees bent, because maybe it's not possible to have them straight because the hamstrings are tight. That's okay. Wherever you are at, whatever you want to practice here, Let's take a nice big stretch. You might find that you want to round your back, and that's perfectly okay. You might find that you want to be working more toward keeping your back straight. I guarantee that there's at least one person watching this right now who's going to bring their face to the ground in a beautiful way. Make it happen. The rest of us will just watch. Although we shouldn't watch because we shouldn't be watching the other video. We should be pinning this. Anyways, doesn't matter. You know what I mean. All right, it's just a joke. All right, we're gonna come back up, and then I want you just to bring your legs in closer together and just shake it out. And then we'll take a very lovely forward fold in any manner that you want. So remember, your knees can be bent. Whatever you want to do, you can have a very rounded back and just really breathe into that low back area. You feel it everywhere else as well. Or maybe you're going to work on having a straighter spine and hinging at the hips. So experiment, try these different movements, see what feels good for you. It's not to say that one way is the right way, but it's nice to know that there's variations, subtle variations in these poses. And when you want, you can focus on what you need. But sometimes we also have to do the stuff that we don't want to do. Because that's sometimes the poses that we need the most are the ones that we hate. Okay, one more breath, and we'll come back up and just give it a little shake. Let's take our left leg, we're gonna step it over the right, and we'll twist towards the bent knee, so towards the left. You're lifting yourself up nice and tall. You're taking nice, big, exaggerated breaths into your belly. You wanna get the nice benefits here of massaging the low belly organs, helping with your digestion. On your left side is your spleen, so give it a nice big squeeze. With the kidneys and the adrenals, more towards, the kidneys definitely more towards the back. Last but not least, if you want to tuck your arm and take a little twist, you can do that. Some of you might want to do the bind. Okay, we're going to come back to center, and then let's actually just take a twist to the opposite side. So you're going to go to the right. Notice how that feels. Maybe don't overdo it, but we'll come back to center. And I want you to have your knee resting on your bottom leg. You can keep your foot flat, remember, or soften it, and come forward any amount. And if this doesn't work for you, just stay like this. Nice big breath. Okay, we're gonna come back up. We'll do one more thing. I want you to bring your left leg. The foot is now inside the right leg. I often really teach this in any type of class, whether it's a really challenging class or a more gentle class or a mixed class like this. This is just a really effective stretch. So you can stay like this or make it a little deeper and come forward. This is the traditional pose, Janu Sirsasana. Let's take 3 big deep breaths here. Okay, we'll come back up and release the legs. You can give them a little shake. I'm going to switch sides and we're going to do the right side. So take your right leg and step it over. Twist towards your bent knee. So that is towards the right. Keep your neck nice and juicy. Again, nice big breaths. This side we have the liver. On both sides, ascending and descending colon to help with our digestion, as I said before. We'll lift up a little bit higher, maybe tuck your arm if you want. If it wrecks your stretch, don't do it. Let's take one more breath and come all the way back. And I want you to just make your way to the opposite side, and we'll just try that stretch for a moment. Nice big breath. And come back to center. Let your knee rest on the bottom leg knee. And remember, you can stay like this or come forward, maybe grabbing foot, maybe grabbing your shin, whatever works. Let's take 3 breaths. Okay, and we'll come back up. Last but not least, we're going to take the right leg, bring it inside the left. And again, stay like this, even just to begin the pose and just see how it feels. You're definitely trying to push the foot inside the leg and feel something in your hip. Want to increase it, we'll fold forward. Relax your shoulders, soften your jaw. Nice big deep breaths. We are cooling down. Body temperature's dropping, heart rate regulating. All right, we'll come back up and let's release the leg. Give them a little shake, maybe for good fun. One more forward fold if you feel like it in any way. Let's do one more thing here. Seated, we'll bring the soles of our feet together and take butterfly pose. We did lots and lots of hip stuff today, and like the lunges were super duper strengthening for the legs and opening up for the hips. We also want to stretch it out. You want to round your back, go for it. I always like that. Okay, let's come back up and we're going to lie down on our backs. Lie down on your backs, bring your knees into your chest. We're going to do just one more thing that has a little element of abdominal work to it, but we're going to use it for a dual purpose to also stretch out our legs. Okay, I want you to stretch out your left leg onto the ground. Bring your right leg up in the air. We'll hold on to the back of the leg and you'll just give your ankles another little stretch. Certainly you held lunges when you're on the ball of your foot, right? When you switch sides, so you gotta make sure you get this all stretched out. We were lifting up and down, strengthening the ankles. Okay, so here's the relaxing part. You can stay like this. If you want one more little burst of challenge, I want you to grab onto your leg wherever you can. You're gonna keep your chin away from your chest, so don't crunch it in. And we're just going to pull the abdominal muscles in and we'll lift up here and we'll hold here. I'm looking up at my toes for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and come back down. All right, we're gonna take that right leg, cross the ankle over the left thigh, take thread the needle. Make sure you keep your foot flexed. Nice big breath, really stretching into your hip. If you have a different variation that you want to take, go for it. Really enjoy that nice stretch that you're getting through your back, especially in your low back, the tailbone area. We'll take one more breath and release the leg. Keep your right leg bent in. I want you to pull it in towards your right shoulder. And then take your left hand on the knee, bring the leg across the body. We're going to take a lovely, lovely spinal twist. You can stretch your right arm away from you, maybe looking over at the right. And just take a good big breath into your back. We'll come all the way back, release the leg, give it a little shake. We're going to stretch the left leg up in the air, holding onto the leg. Again, your ankle gets another round of rolls, stretches, maybe point and flex the foot. I'm very obsessed with feet. So I have really, really bad feet, and my yoga practice has helped me work through issues with my feet. So I'm very obsessed with stretching feet. I shouldn't say I have bad feet. I have nice feet. Thank you, feet. Okay. If you want, lift yourself up. Keep your throat open, staring at your toes. Abdominal muscles are engaged for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release back down. Ankle crosses over the thigh. Taking thread the needle. I remember one of my yoga teachers, when I did my one of my first yoga trainings at the Yoga Sanctuary, a teacher who was there, she used to say that if there's a part of your body that frustrates you, like I was just talking about my feet, because they hurt, she said, always say nice things to your body. Send nice messages to that part of your body. Don't be mad at your body. If you have an elbow issue or wrist, say nice things to it. So we will release this leg, stretch your leg out, your right leg out, bend your left knee in, pull it in towards your shoulder, take a big squish, and then your right hand is on the knee, bring the leg across the body. If you want, stretch your arm away from you. Lovely, lovely big breath, releasing your neck. We'll come all the way back and release the leg. I'm going to just give us one more moment here to do an inversion of your choice. So if you want to take shoulder stand, if you want to elevate your legs again together. I know we did this kind of a moment ago, but if you feel like it's still something you need to do, I'm going to also suggest you could take a happy baby here. One more opportunity to stretch out your hips. So we'll just do this for about 5 more breaths. So just stay in your position, whatever it is. Make sure you complete your 5 breaths. And then what we're going to do today at the end, I've been really giving us a really, really short Shavasana at the end, but in the spirit of it being a long weekend, and we, in theory, should have extra time to relax. That's also going to happen today in this session. We're going to have a little extra time to relax. So if you want to stay a little longer, I'd love for you to. We're going to just lie down. I'm going to actually do a very short breathing exercise with us. You don't have to do it. You can just close your eyes, but lying down on your back, we're going to bring our hands to our belly. And I want you to close your eyes. If you can't close your eyes, just stare at one point. And I want us to just breathe into our hands that are on our belly. So we are practicing deep diaphragmatic breathing. I think in a lot of ways, it's easier to do this at the end of a practice than at the beginning. Not to say that you can't practice breathing exercises at the beginning, but for today, it's at the end. I want you to see if you can take inhales of 5 right into your hands on the belly and exhales of 5. So breathing, deep abdominal breathing, diaphragmatic breathing, it helps lower the stress hormone cortisol. So it calms us. It lowers our blood pressure. It might feel anatomically challenging to do this, but that's okay. We practice it and it gets easier. So let's stay here a little bit longer. If you would prefer to just take your hands onto the ground and maybe turn your palms to face up, we're going to close our eyes just for another minute or so. Relax your jaw. We are going to start to put some movement back in our bodies. You can start to wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes. Like we did at the beginning of the class, you can gently turn your head from side to side. And when you feel ready, bring your arms over your head, and we're going to take one more big stretch. So I want you to reach through all 10 of your fingers, stretch all the way down your body through all of your toes, and we're going to take a few big cleansing breaths, another way to calm ourselves down. But a big breath in through the nose and release it all through your mouth. You can say, ah, you can say any sound you want. Let's do that again. A big breath in and releasing out. And one last time, big breath in and releasing out. We're going to roll over to our right side, coming up gently and slowly to a seated position. I hope you feel like you have had a good practice, like you feel like you're ready for your May long weekend, ready to go out and enjoy the sunshine today. Even if there's rain tomorrow, it doesn't really matter, right? It's all good. But I just want to add a quick thing that I am starting to do a couple classes that are more focused. So I'm going to be doing a gentle class and a more challenging class starting next week. If you're interested, you can email me. My email is in the chat. Feel free. Some of you are aware already, but if you're interested, just let me know. But we'll bring our hands to our hearts, close the eyes. Just take a moment for gratitude for something or someone in your world. I am grateful for all of you for practicing with me today, and also for the fact that it appears, knock on wood, that I didn't have any technical issues, I think. Have a wonderful day. Namaste. Thank you so much. And have a great long weekend.